Hi everyone, this is João Carrasqueira with NeoWin, and today we're looking at build 18970 of Windows 10, which was made available to insiders in the fast ring yesterday. It's been a while since we've done a video like this on a build. The last one was on 18922. We were kind of waiting for Microsoft to build up a few more features into the builds because they've been being added pretty slowly. There's been one or two per build, small stuff, so we're kind of letting it build up so I can make a more comprehensive video, and here we are. So starting with the changes to this sort of desktop environment that have been made since build 18922, so we're not covering just 18970, but we're going a bit further back. Starting with this desktop environment, there's a change here that I've actually mentioned in the previous video, but now this interface to add events directly from the calendar flyout is available to everyone in the fast ring. You can just start typing, choose a time, choose a location. You can't do it all from the flyout there. So there's an option, the option to go to the calendar app to add some more details, but you can start typing there, and if you want to make some changes, you can do it in the app afterwards. So still in this environment, we have changes to the Cortana app, which we've mentioned before, but it wasn't really available at the time. So there's this new Cortana app that has this conversational UI there. It shows you all the things you've asked of Cortana. And there have been a couple of changes. In the last video I mentioned the microphone didn't work. Now it does. You can actually interact with Cortana using your voice. The Hey Cortana wake word still doesn't seem to work, for me at least. But it is, you can enable it in the settings. It just doesn't seem to do really anything right now. But it's a beta app, it's still being developed, and those features will probably be built in later. The Cortana app is now available for everyone in the US, for every insider in the US, that is. So everyone in the United States that's in the fast ring can now use this. It was a little hard to activate for me, but it is there. Eventually, if you can get it to work, it does show up, and it looks pretty nice. It also supports the light theme, as we mentioned before, so that's also a good change there. Another thing we've mentioned before is the ability to create and rename, mostly rename, you can already create them, to rename virtual desktops. So now if you only create a new virtual desktop, you can just call it whatever. You can have a bunch of them and call them a bunch of things, and they'll actually stay this time. We mentioned this before, and they didn't really stay, but now they do. Even if you reboot the computer, everything seems to be working. It will be available only for some people, so you'll need to be in the 50% that Microsoft chose. So it's a random thing, or you can enable it manually with Mac too, but otherwise it won't be available only for a select a number of people for now, which will roll out to everyone later on, hopefully sooner rather than later. Other changes are, for example, now in the Cortana, the search experience, that is. So if you often make typos while searching for things, which I do at least, now you can, if you make those typos, the search experience will be able to accommodate for those little spelling errors and still give you the result you're looking for. It's not perfect, but if you're looking for an app and you just misplace some letters or something like that, if you put them in the wrong place, it'll still be able to get you results based on the things you have on your computer. It's not perfect, but it is a little better now, and you can just make those typos and it'll give you those results nonetheless. There's also some improvements here to how you get suggested matches here. So if you start to type up free, it'll think you might be looking for ways to free up space. So not only does it show you storage sense, it tells you how it's surfacing that result. So you see this related line here. Here it tells you how Windows is using that what you typed to give you that result. So it's a little better and lets you know the logic behind how the search works. So if you're ever confused about why certain things are showing up in your search results, now this should help. Again, it's not perfect, but it is a step in the right direction. And speaking of search, the search feature that we mentioned in the File Explorer last time is actually available for everyone now. So it was available for a select number of people before. Now it's rolled out to every insider in the fast ring. You no longer get that full page search right away. If the results you're looking for are on your computer, they'll just show up. They'll just show up there, and there are a few results there. If what you're looking for is not in the quick results, you can still go into the full interface and see the full list of results. But it is simpler now. Doesn't take you away from the entire window you're looking at before. So that is a welcome change as well, and it's now available for every insider. Also new in this is kind of deviating a little bit from the desktop environment, but the task manager has a little change here in the performance tab, which now tells you the temperature of your GPUs. It only works for now with discrete graphics, so you have the NVIDIA card here saying it's at 56 degrees Celsius, but if you look at the Intel one, there's no temperature there. So that's a limitation, at least for now, but it could change later on. Hopefully it will. But yeah, for now it does have that. It has it at least for the dedicated GPU, the discrete GPU. So that is a nice addition. If you like to monitor your computer's performance, it should be a nice touch for you. So now we move on to the biggest change to the desktop environment. And this is kind of confusing one, because this one is actually added with build 18970, and it is a new improved interface for the tablet posture. So what that means is that the tablet mode, which is the feature inside Windows 10, hasn't actually changed. That works the same way as it did before. But if you're using desktop mode with a tablet, like if you have a convertible, like a Surface or anything that spins 360 degrees on an inch, now that will be able to give you a better experience. So if I take my computer here and I rotate it to use just the touch screen, you see I get the prompt to switch to tablet mode, but I don't actually have to enable that, because right away the spacing between my icons here on the bottom has increased, and I can open a couple of apps to show that off. You see there's a lot more space between the taskbar icons there. And not only that, now when I tap on a search bar or any text field, the touch keyboard will be brought up right away. You could enable this before for the desktop experience, but it was a separate toggle. Now this is automatic. As soon as you enter tablet posture and the computer stops recognizing a keyboard and mouse and it knows you have a touch screen, it'll just be ready for you to use touch input, and that means the touch keyboard is also available there. It makes things a little easier. Same thing for the File Explorer, which also adopts the more touch-friendly UI with more spacing between things. You have the checkboxes there, so you know what you're selecting. So all those changes are there right away, and you don't actually need to enable anything special separately. You don't need to enable tablet mode, because tablet mode has some downsides. You don't get the desktop. You don't really get the app icons on the taskbar anymore. There's a few downsides to tablet mode. So if you don't like that, now the tablet experience in desktop mode is better. And maybe Microsoft is getting rid of tablet mode, but we don't really know yet. They didn't really clarify. The messaging is a little confusing around that, but we'll have to wait and see what Microsoft does there. So moving on from the desktop itself and onto Windows features and apps, the calculator has seen some changes. So it's worth noting that apps like this can be updated through the store, so these things are not necessarily exclusive to the fast ring permanently, but they are exclusive to the fast ring right now. So there's a new always on top mode for the calculator app. So you just click there, it goes into a smaller window. You can resize it. Even in this mode you can make it whatever size you want, but it can get a lot smaller this way, and it'll also stay on top of whatever you're doing. It sits on top of my start menu there. If I open an app, the calculator will always be on top. So if you need to use the calculator for something, it'll always be there, and you can use it for whatever you need while doing other things. And it's also, small, which a lot of people complain about how big it can get. So now it can get pretty small there. So that's a welcome change. Again, that's probably going to make its way to previous versions of Windows, but for now it is only in the fast ring. Another change in apps is for the Snip Sketch app. So if you take a snip there, and if you go to edit it, now you can zoom in on the snip, and you can do that so you can draw more accurately on a picture. So especially if it's a big picture, and if you want to align the inking with something, now you can do that by zooming in, and then you can just go back to the normal size and look at it in full size. And that's also a welcome change. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do, but there you go, you can do that now. It's only available in the fast ring for now, but again, this is an app. It can be updated through the store, so it will likely make its way to other versions of Windows later. For now, it's only in the fast ring. Also, not so much an app, but more of a Windows feature, it's the Magnifier. It now supports the light theme, and also the text here now supports the text scaling setting in the settings. So if you change the text scaling for your screen, it will affect the text in the Magnifier UI here. So it's a small change, but it is a welcome one if you use it. So there's that. And finally, there's another change to the Notepad. Well, not the Notepad itself, but the way it works, because the Notepad is included with Windows, and usually it can only be updated when Windows updates. Now, Microsoft has done some updates to the Notepad over the past couple of years or so. With Windows 10 updates, there have been a few changes that have been packed into the Notepad. So now they're putting the Notepad on the Microsoft Store. It can be updated through there, and this will probably allow Microsoft to deliver those updates more quickly, and so you don't have to be waiting for the next Windows 10 update to have some changes to the Notepad. So that's also a welcome change if you use the Notepad regularly. But for now, there's nothing really significant that's been done to the app itself. It's just enabling faster updates in the future. So moving on from all of that, we're going to go into the settings app, because there are also some changes here, starting with notifications. So if you search for notifications here, there are a few changes in this page now. For example, there's now a global setting to turn off notification sounds. So before, if you didn't want to have a notification playing sound, you'd either have to turn on Focus Assist and disable notifications altogether, you'd have to mute the computer entirely, or you'd have to turn off notifications or notification sounds individually. Now you can do it here directly. It affects all the apps and all the notifications. So that way you only have the sounds. If you're watching videos or a movie or something, that'll still have sound, but the notifications won't. So that's gives the users a little more control. And another change in the settings here is that if you go into individual app settings, you get these visual representations of what the settings mean. So the banners are represented by a little banner there, and the action center has that graphic there to indicate that it's the action center. So you know a little better what's being done when you turn these settings on or off. So that is also a welcome change that it's giving users a little more control over the way things work. That's always a good thing. So that's a good feature, and it's actually available already also in the slow ring. So you don't have to be in the fast ring to have this. It was added recently to the fast ring and the slow ring, but it is also available in the slow ring if you are on it, and it'll be available to retail versions of Windows 10 soon, because it's coming with 19H2 rather than 20H1, so it'll be a little sooner than most of the features in these builds. Other changes in the settings app are to the sign-in settings. So now you can make your device passwordless. This is something Microsoft is doing a lot. They're working to remove passwords from almost all of their services and allow you to log in with something else, be it a security key, fingerprints, something like that. So now if you agree with that mentality, you can just stop people from logging in with your password. If someone finds your password, they won't be able to log into your computer. They need to use either your PIN or it has to be with your fingerprint or something like that. So no one can use your password. If someone finds out your password, they can't use it to access this computer. And another change here while we're in the sign-in options is the ability to let or forbid apps from restarting when you sign out of the computer and then you sign back in. So apps can be registered to, if they're open when you sign out, they'll be registered to open again when you sign back into the computer. If you don't like that, you can turn it off, and that way when you reboot the computer or something like that, the apps won't start and you'll have a fresh start whenever you restart the computer. So that's also, again, giving users more control, because these used to be associated with another setting, which is this one down here. Use my sign-in info to automatically finish setting up my device. So now these are separate settings and you can control that a little more. Moving on to other settings, you have something new in the network settings here, which is just a small change to the UI. It shows you the available kinds of connections. So in this case, this laptop doesn't have an Ethernet port, but if it did, you could see both kinds of connections here. And you can also see the data usage for those networks on your computer. And you can go here, and if you have a data cap of some kind, you can enter a limit for how much that specific connection can use, and that restriction will be applied to that network only. So that makes things a little easier to get to, because you could already set a network is metered, but this does give you a little more control over how much data you're using. There's also a new improved page for the optional features, but this is only available for some insiders, and unfortunately I wasn't chosen, so I can't really show it off. But it doesn't let you select multiple features at once, so if you want to install more than one thing, you can just select a bunch of them and do it all at once, or uninstall them. There will be a new section up here for you to see the things you've installed recently, or the ones you're still installing, so you can manage your recent actions more easily. There will be a little more information here, like the date when each of these optional features was installed, and you can also see the dependencies for those optional features, so you can understand a little more about why they're installed and if you actually need them. So those things will be changing. It will be showing up for more people later on. Right now they're only available for 50% of insiders according to Microsoft, so I can't really show it off right now, but it is a useful update there. Moving on from that, there's changes also to the mouse settings here. You can now adjust the cursor speed directly in the settings app. So this is always possible, of course, but you'd have to go through the control panel, and Microsoft is trying to merge as many things as possible into the settings app, make things a little easier to find. So now the cursor speed is also here. So that's a welcome change, a small one, but a welcome one nonetheless. Now the biggest change that's been made to the settings app is in the recovery settings. So if you reset your PC, usually what it does is it will use the files you have on your computer and try to create a new Windows installation and delete all your files and apps and just keep the Windows system itself. Now, if your system is corrupted, or if there's something wrong, or if you just don't want to use your local files, you can actually download a new copy of Windows and you'll reinstall that cloud version instead of using the files you have on your computer. So again, if you have corrupt files or something that might break even new installations, if you want the very clean installation all over again, you can do this now. It does make things it might make things a little better. So that's also a great change to be made. With that being said, those are all the changes that have been made that affect everyone, or mostly everyone. There have been some updates to the input method editors for languages like Korean and Chinese, but I wouldn't be in the right position to cover those. So that's all for today. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.